And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. What we need to do now is open up 3ds Max 2010 or 2011, whichever one you have the plugin installed for. Give it a few minutes to boot up. Just wait and load. I'm just going to pause the recording. Okay, once you have 3ds Max open, and it took a really long time to open, I don't know why, but you should have this view, your normal perspective view. Now, before we import, there's something you need to keep in mind. I forgot to mention. In my video, so you can see I had the keyboards and the monitors floating up with the text. So everything on the map was editable. I could move anything on the map. If you want to be able to move anything on the map like I did, there is a little extra work you have to do. But if you don't want to move everything on the map, it might be a little easier. It's just hard to navigate if you don't. I'll show you why in a second, but you need to keep that in mind. So I don't think it affects rendering time at all. It didn't affect rendering time with me, but what we want to do is just maximize the this viewport for the perspective viewport. We want to just maximize this, so we'll all only be using this one. And you want to go to Open. It says Open Existing 3ds Max file. So we need to navigate to the Documents, 3D Ripper DX, and then Frames. So wherever you're, wherever you selected that folder in your 3ds, say No Items. You just need to select All Files. Oops. And the newest 3DR that you made. This is the newest one, I think. Why did it make 2? Wait, today's the 15th. So it's this one. Okay. Yeah, make sure you find the right one. I don't know why it doesn't save in the right order. But you want to open that, and if you've installed the plugin correctly, a dialog box should appear. Yep, here you go. And it just reset the views. I don't know why. But now you need to copy these settings, because these are what you need to do. So the field of view, it matters now, so we want to put it as 75. Oh, and I accidentally imported it. Guess we can't click cancel. Okay. We want to set this as 75. Don't click enter or it'll import it like I did. Set your field of, or your aspect ratio 16:9. Leave that for height. Don't touch the recommended values. It'll automatically set stuff. Now this is where you need to pick which one you want to do. One object equals one draw call. That means every object in the map is editable. But this has one extra step you need to do that might be kind of annoying, but it wasn't really annoying for me. Just figuring out how to do it was annoying. Or you could do merge into single mesh, and this will basically make the entire map one object. Now the only downside to this, you see, if I remove faces, you need to select mirror. If you want to do this, you need to do remove faces drawn first. Don't touch any of these, they're fine. Just click OK. The downside, you'll see. So I got the map here, right? And already it's becoming almost impossible to zoom in and move about. Now see, if I want to rotate around the map to get a different angle, since the middle of the map, or since the middle of the object is the entire map, it's almost impossible to rotate once you're inside, because you're going to be rotating around the entire map. That goes with zooming in too. It'll get harder to zoom in and harder to move the map around. This is the only downside to this. The textures aren't messed up or anything, but that's the only downside. Unless you know how to work with that, or you want to move your pivot point around, it's just really a big hassle for me, so I don't really do it like this. Again, you can do whichever method you want, but we're gonna go ahead and open that again. Okay, now set this back at 75 like we did. The values don't stay the same for some reason in every session. Now one object equals one draw call. If you're doing it like this, that's all you need to have selected, and you should be good to go and open. Now, once this opens, every object will be editable. So just be careful if you have a slow computer. You might want to stay away from this one. Actually, if you have a slow computer, you probably shouldn't be working with 3ds Max at all. But it's so hard to zoom in sometimes. And I'm not an expert by any means with this, so I might be missing some steps, but we can always use the zoom tool. And I cannot even move it now. There we go. So see, I'm rotating. Now, since that box is selected, I'm rotating around the box instead of rotating around the entire map. Oh. And there's another problem with this. Sometimes when you zoom in, it's just gonna go ballistic and zoom all the way around the map. So you gotta be careful. It's just a sizing thing. I don't know the way it sizes. So now we're in here. I want to get this so it looks flat. We're going to zoom in a little. There you can see there was a texture problem right there. Oop. And this is the same position we're looking at, but it looks different. Well, you might go down to the field of view tool and change your field of view. You don't want to do this when you're importing the map. You want to wait till you're already in it, because when you do it when you're importing a map, it'll stretch stuff sometimes. But yeah, you just want to scroll up and down with that field of view tool to fix it. Now, if I just put in a standard daylight system, like so. Everything may look fine on here, but if we go to rendering and we do our render setup, we set it to just a mental ray daylight. No. And we just render this. You'll notice these little green box things that are weird. This is just a bad lighting. Don't worry about the lighting, but you'll notice there's a bunch of weird random textures all over the place. This is a problem. It's something that when you import it with everything is like one draw call where everything can be editable. Hold on, let me delete this light because it's almost impossible to see. So, being that everything is editable, I can't do it right now. I don't know why. Maybe I need to be, okay, yeah. Oh, here we are. The way that the map gets ripped, it rips like, I think it might just be the way Call of Duties are made, but it rips like a double texture of everything. Like there's textures behind some textures. So that's sort of a problem, because when you render, they're both on the same plane. So the messed up textures will be in line with the real textures. I mean, that's really the only way I know how to explain it. When you do it this way, there's going to be double the textures. Because remember, when we imported it the other way, we had it set to remove faces drawn first, and that automatically removed those messed up textures. But since we do it the one object, one draw call, it can't do it like that. So we have to automatically get rid of them ourselves. So if you go into where your scene is, we select an area. It's not working right now. Oh, well, okay. Well, there's the box. Remember, Control Z is your friend, though. You just need, if you hold Control, see, I selected too much. If you hold Control and you drag sometimes, there must not be any there. But if you hold Control, it should select. Okay, this time, nope. You gotta try to select. This is impossible to do on this part of the map. See, it's selecting both textures. I don't know why. Holding Control, all I know is it just picks the underneath one. Now, why is this? This might just be a bad part of the map to do this in, because obviously this ground plane is stuck to everything. But if you hold Control under the parts, okay, like this, it's a bad texture. It's a bad texture. You're usually able just to now why is that like that? There's another issue that comes with doing this. The tool to move all of the stuff, it's automatically, since they're all individual draw calls, it's automatically back here at the origin plane. So that's another issue that may make you want to use the other method instead, but in my opinion this is the best looking one because you're able to move stuff obviously and zoom around better. But once you get the spot that you want and everything, right, so we want to just put text here or whatever you want to put here. We're just going to do our text, and I'll show you how. What you need to do. So we're going to go to standard, or we're going to go to the create panel. We're going to go to shapes, and we're going to go to text. And we're going to, now where did it, oh, okay. We're going to change what we want it to say, so we'll say like tutorial. Or not, we'll make it say just DCPL. And then you can fiddle with all the sizing and stuff. Something like that. Pick all the fonts you want. We'll just leave it at Arial. Don't need to do any rendering or interpolation at all. What you want to do now, we can, oh, cloned it. We want to try to rotate this upwards. Okay. We go back and we're going to go ahead and go to the modifiers. Make sure your text is selected. We're going to go to modifiers tab, the drop down box, and you want to scroll down to object modifiers. You want to go to shell. That will shell the outline for you. And then the outer amount, pulling the outer amount up is like extruding it, say if you were trying to use Cinema 4D. This may be like 25 or 45, something like that. Auto smooth edges should be on. Don't touch any of the other stuff unless you know what you're doing, or unless you want to bevel it, you know how to bevel. But that's how you make the text basically. The color means nothing. The color is just like this in the render. Like you can pick anything that you want, and it's just easier to do it like this. And then when you put a material on it, it'll look different. But once that's there, so we can see this is now in 3D space, So we can move anywhere we want and that'll be there. Move it back some. It's sitting on the ground. And now that is there. Let's see if we can add a light now and try to render. Go to the create panel. We need to go to lights. You can use a daylight system if you angle it correctly. See, there's holes in the ceiling, but I think we want to do it like this. It's easier to do it from far away so you can zoom in better. So where's my select your text? If you press H, it opens up the hierarchy. You can just select your text from the well, I made two texts on accident. So let's zoom back in the zoom tool. Oh. The only problem with importing maps, it's like possible to do anything. Once you get your angle set though, you're good. So now that we have this here, I know it looks super bright. That's something you're just going to have to deal with. You can disable the light if you want. It won't look super bright when you render it. It's just the fact that it uses the daylight system. It thinks it's super bright. So if we go to the render setup, I'm not going to go through a render setup tutorial. That would take way too long. We'll just use a daylighting preset, the mental ray. We're just going to click yes for that, I think. Leave it on its own size. Don't touch any of the render boxes. And we can do, yeah, see the green textures are still there. It's this part of the map, it's hard to remove them. But there's your text. Obviously this is a low quality render. And obviously this wasn't a good spot for the light because there's only one hole in the ceiling. You can probably put lights in the background if you want, or maybe a light back there. But it all depends on what you're trying to do, where you're trying to do it at. Got to keep in mind that affects it a lot. So yeah, once you have all that, you can add a camera, whatever. You just press C. Oh, I mean, you can make a camera first. You can make a light. You make a target camera. We'll target it to this, or we can do it like target to that. Whoa, it's really far away, but you're gonna probably need to watch other tutorials if you want to do that. Learn how to do camera and stuff, but basically what you can do is just make a line and then set it to move across the line. You can add some other modifiers to the text if you want. Like I did, I used I think it was a wave. Yeah, it was like a wave modifier. Made it from like bending downwards to bending upwards. You can do all kinds of other stuff you want to as well, like fume effects. I did a fume effects pass, but it just was going to take too long for me to render, so I didn't want to do that. That whole scene that I had on Wands probably took I think about 17 or 18 hours to render the whole way. Keep in mind I was using an extremely high quality mental ray preset at 1080p, so that's something you got to keep in mind too. This was going to take a long time to render if you want it to look good, just because of all the objects in the scene and all the effects that you have going at the same time. But yeah, quite possibly you might be able to do a more in-depth tutorial sooner. But this was just the basic thing. This is how I did it. Obviously you can do your own way using my method and stuff. So you remember to keep in mind all the things you need have to come together the right way, or you won't be able to get it to look good. So like place on the map that you want to record it, that has to be kept in mind. The textures that you wanted to do has to be kept in mind. Where you need to put the lights and everything needs to be kept in mind for it to be able to look right. The spot I did it in had a lot of holes in the ceiling, like the holes on terminal, so the daylight was able to come through really well and make it look really realistic. And the textures were able to come through well as well too. So that is it for this tutorial, guys, and thanks for watching.